So I'm sure that if you're on YouTube, you have seen a lot of videos about something known as destiny swapping and another concept called chosen ones, right? Chosen ones, destiny swapping. Let me know if you in the comments if you are seeing these videos because I've seen them. They're showing up on my algorithm. And so I was curious, do these concepts how do these concepts, number one, do they really exist? And then number two, how do they relate to spiritual abuse? So I'd love to hear from you in the comments. I'll give my take on it because it's been something that I have been asked about before. And I'll talk about the first topic. The first topic is destiny swapping. And so some people, have made some really interesting videos out there about the concept of destiny swapping, destiny exchanges, somebody having one destiny and it being swapped for another. And people talk about how, they think it's happened to them or they think it's happened to somebody, maybe somebody in like the music industry or something like that, just basically somebody who is supposed to be doing something and they are doing something else. And so I thought about this in relation to spiritual abuse and some of the stories, and experiences that you all have had kind of fit into that category. And I'm going to explain why. The first thing is that when people go into spiritually abusive environments, they are woefully unaware of how powerful these environments can be. And so, if you think about it from the perspective of destiny swapping and destiny exchange, people have talked about how, they went into this environment, their life plan was to do ABC, and that didn't happen. And it could not have happened for a variety of reasons, but some of you have talked specifically about how you felt that what you were supposed to be doing was, in essence, stolen from you or exchanged for something else. This happens a lot around education, right? And so people have talked about how they were set to get a particular degree or work in a particular industry. And because of their time in that spiritually abusive environment, they were manipulated out of doing that and basically taking all that skill and benefiting that environment instead of benefiting the church. So if you think about, Bible stories, if you read the story about Jacob and Laban, that kind of happened with Jacob. First, it's interesting because first of all, he, tricked his brother Esau out of his birthright. But then when Jacob is working for Laban, basically Jacob is working and working and working, but Laban is benefiting from Jacob's free labor. And I think about that in relation to some of the experiences that we all have shared on this channel, where you might have a particular talent, a particular goal for your life, and you are told if you use this in any other way besides what benefits that environment, you're a bad and sinful person. Now, they're not going to phrase it that way. They might use different ways of manipulation to get you to believe that you doing anything else that doesn't benefit them is bad. So for instance, we've talked about this before with prophetic abuse, right? If so people might say, well, they have a prophecy about this, or God told them that you are supposed to leave behind this education and work for this church. Or they might say something along the lines of you need to leave a particular industry and focus your efforts on the church. It's not only through prophetic abuse either. There are several messages around just how you need to carry yourself if you are a talented person. And that gets me to the second thing about chosen ones. And a lot of, I'd be very curious to hear from you all in the comment section what you think about that. From what I have read and understood from just my own research, it seems like people are describing chosen ones as individuals who have a particular talent, particular destiny in life or goal in life or trajectory in life that is very unique and different from those around them. And that makes them, on one hand, a target, but they also are very talented on the other hand. So if you think about Joseph in the Bible, a lot of people will use his example as a person who was a chosen one. You know, he was identified early as having a lot of talent, was his dad's favorite, but his brothers hated him. And so there's these, polarities between being loved and being hated simultaneously. And so if you think about that from the perspective of spiritual abuse, it would make sense that if a person, was indeed a chosen one, that they would be identified as a prime target for spiritual abuse. Think about it. When you think about if you I would say like align with the concept of understanding what a chosen one is, or think about it, people like that are very polarizing. And so imagine somebody like that coming into an environment that is spiritually abusive. Well, they probably are going to shake things up quite a bit. And that might make them a target. And it might be the kind of thing where the individual or the system that is abusing people is going to lock in on that and try and figure out how they can make the most from it. Like I've said before, spiritually abusive people and environments are very entitled. And so they believe that they are entitled to your time and your resources. And so if you think about somebody who is very talented and who stands out, people who are abusive might want that for themselves. And if you think about just abuse in general, think about people, think about just stories that of abuse, or if you have been a survivor of abuse, think about how different the reality is between what is true and what the abuser tells you, right? The way, if you think about Joseph in the Bible, his family treated him, or his siblings treated him like he was trash, like he was nothing, when in fact he was very smart, he was very talented, and he helped save his family at the very end. And so when we think about that dichotomy between how we are, how one is viewed by the abusive system versus how they really are, it's very different. And so abusive people in abusive environments are going to work overtime to make sure that that person doesn't realize the talents and the gifts they have. So my whole point in this was, number one, to spark a conversation. What do you think about the concepts of destiny swapping and chosen ones? And then number two, regardless of whether you identify it or not, it's very important that you guard your talent and you guard your life goals, right? A healthy spiritual environment is going to be one that supports you in what you do. They don't feel like because you go there, then you owe them your life, right? And so let's say you're somebody who have talent, you have aspirations to do X, Y, and Z. Be territorial of that, because these environments, what they're going to do is they're going to make you think that you owe them that. And so if you're not working for them, or they're not profiting from your talent, then you are a bad and selfish person. And that's very wrong. And so I'd love to hear from you in the comments. What do you think about this? Do you think the whole concept of destiny swapping and chosen ones is just another weird trend that YouTube is going through right now? Or do you feel like there's some validity or merit to it? Or are you in between? I'd love to hear from you about that, how you feel like it relates to spiritual abuse. If you'd like to schedule a consultation, go to my website, skillsetcounseling.com, and you can proceed from there. I hope you have a wonderful day that's filled with peace. Bye-bye.